Hey there, folks! I got a little something to share with you today. Something a little different. Yeah, you read that title right. I'm in a cartoon, but allow me to elaborate a little further. So, this is a pilot called Set Sail for Candy, thought up by some dude named Julian Parrish, and it's been in production from 2016 right up until the first half of 2023. Yeah, I've known about this thing for quite a while, recorded most of the dialogue quite a while ago too, alongside my partner in crime, Nick Lizzo, aka PurpleEyes. You may have heard that name in the golden days of abridged anime parodies on YouTube with such classic hits as Nun Piece, or maybe even Code Ment, which features everybody's favorite.
What do you mean you're at soup?
Needless to say, I'm so glad to finally see this thing out in the wild, and I highly recommend you give it a look yourself if you haven't already. Just know that, again, most of my lines were recorded in 2016. As an actor, I've only improved since then in terms of talent and recording software, so while it may not bother you, it's killing me just a little bit on the inside. Just a little bit. But today, I'm gonna drag Mr. Julian aside to ask him some questions about this pilot. Production questions, how it came about, stuff like that. This was his idea, but I'm legit interested in what he's got to say. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, so first question. Where did the idea for this series come from, and when did it first become an idea in your head?
Now, most people equate this thing to Flapjack, but honestly, it came from Billy and Mandy. I used to watch that show religiously, and there was one episode where Billy works for the chocolate sailors, and they sell these cursed chocolates. You see where I'm going with this? Set Sail is like some distorted parody of that, but the actual trio of characters come from Dragon Ball, the specific dynamic of Goku, Krillin, and Master Roshi, and the first tournament arc. Two spunky little kids and some depraved man-child.
When did you get the idea to come to me for the role of Kaiser, and why me specifically?
Casting for this cartoon was actually really simple. I just looked through my YouTube subscriptions, and around that time, I was subbed to you. I always thought you had a protagonist-type voice, and you carried yourself really well, even in your early videos. Good for you.
Curious, how did you stumble upon me anyways, and what made you stick around?
I think I was just deep diving into Pokemon stuff on YouTube, and of course you pop up. Your videos always had this sort of homegrown feel to them, and a real appreciation for whatever you were talking about. Made me feel like I was back in my old room playing N64. Nostalgia, I guess, is what drew me to you. It's built right into your brand.
What were some of Kaiser's inspirations?
Goku, like I said, and a little bit of Sonic. You know, innocence and snark.
How long has Kaiser / Set Sail been an idea in your head?
Yeah. Old sketches suggest at least 2011, but the further I go back, the more uncomfortable I get about it.
Why'd you get Nick, i.e. PurpleEyes, on board? Was it because of his work on pirate-themed parodies?
Honestly, it had nothing to do with Nun Piece, per se, but the energy he displays in that little series was definitely attractive. Much like you, he was just in my subscriptions. But I knew I wanted a specific sound for the captain, but especially Da Vinci. Da Vinci's voice was inspired by Todd Habercorn, who does Death the Kid and Soul Eater, and Nick does a parody of that exact voice in his videos, and I was sold.
What was that first session like for you, hearing me and Nick spitball and having fun? At what point did it click and have you say, yeah, this is gonna work?
Man, that first session was the bleep this, Malik, if you're feeling family friendly. A little bit of context for you guys. I wanted the voice acting to include a lot of laughing cues, and I wanted some real laughs. So the recording sessions for Set Sail were very unorthodox. We'd literally just hit record and shoot the breeze for hours at a time, and occasionally we'd read some lines. The energy from our conversations went into the line readings. Like if we were fresh off a laugh or if someone was screaming, we'd read a line to capture that emotion. Basically getting very natural reactions and whatnot instead of any robotic line readings. I think halfway into the session, Nick fired off this absolutely perfect take. It had this energy that I couldn't capture twice, and I was like, yeah, that's it. We're gonna keep going this. I knew it.
From start to finish, how long did it take to have that one shot of Kaiser flying through the air? And how much time, effort, and money was devoted to that one shot?
Ugh, you sadist, asking that. So that shot took about a year. It was animated by William Martinez, and you can find him right here! I was crazy to even think of that shot, and he was crazier to take it on. There were countless nights where me and Will were on Discord, he'd share his screen as he animated frame by frame, and I'd give him notes, like, do this here, or express that right here, and he'd give his opinion back, and so on and so forth. We collaborated on making this shot what it was. At one point, I ordered this man pizza, and he'd just keep on working. Like, I'd hear him, like, eating pizza as he was animating. The shot turned out great though, like a solid set piece for sure.
Would you ever do something like that shot again, Julian?
Next question.
What were some other big hurdles you remember having to face?
I would call them learning experiences. The toughest stuff was finding the actual talent and getting them acquainted with the visual demands of the cartoon. Like there's line boiling, so every frame needed to be different. Sorry about that. Then there's some visual cues from anime like snappy movements and rotating cameras, but also combining that with like Western stuff like squash and stretch and smear frames. I'm pretty sure I drove these animators mad. Sorry forever.
What were your favorite scenes to put together or that you had a say on?
Oh, I've got a ton of shots that I call my favorite, but the usual one that I go to is the crab walking shot, where Captain's chasing that coin. Yeah, Abigail absolutely nailed that shot. The perspective, the energy, the glossy color on the floor. Oh man, it's so good.
Now, you worked with a bunch of talented artists, but which one really had you go, I can't believe I got someone of this caliber to work on this little thing of mine?
Well, if I had to choose, number one would be Francis. He handled all the rough animation for the big action sequence near the end. For what this cartoon was, he was so out of my league, and he really cemented the quality of the entire production. And just for a little bit at the beginning of production, I got to work with Gashi. He's an amazing artist from Japan, and he did the bulk of rough layouts on the backgrounds and defined a lot of the visual feel of each environment. Honestly, all the artists on this thing are so high level, I'm glad I got to work with them before they got even bigger.
Every artist who's worked on this is super talented, but it was crazy hearing you got industry professionals on here too. Name me some of the shows these folks have worked on, if not all of them.
Oh, you're making me do homework too? All right. So William Martinez is a regular at Powerhouse Animation now. He's been on Castlevania and He-Man, and he did some One Punch Man Season 2 stuff. Similarly, Lee Kree's done stuff for Castlevania and Jujutsu Kaisen. And Epifex and Hardik come from Knights of the Light Table, and that's basically a collective of crazy good animators. And then Dylan King is a board artist on SpongeBob. Like, I could go on because just about everyone on this thing has industry work under their belt.
Now, refresh my memory, what was that story about getting an animator from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on board and possibly changing the course of that series because of it?
Okay, let's unpack this one. So the person you're referring to is Francis. I had met him when he was doing animation work for commercials and whatnot, so he already had a pretty solid professional career. And then here comes little old me being like, hey, you want to do this dumb indie thing? No, right? Figures. Okay, bye. Thank you for your time. But to my surprise, he actually agreed. Okay, so fast forwards a bit, and we're knee deep in production, and Francis is devoting a lot of time to Set Sail. And then he tells me he got an offer to be the animation director on the upcoming Rise of TMNT. And I'm like, well, logically, he's gonna do that and leave Set Sail. Understandable, have a nice day. But again, to my surprise, he said he turned them down so he could keep working with me. And that's how the timeline split. There's an alternate future out there where Francis is leading TMNT and I'm dead in the water.
If Set Sail got picked up, who would you pick to replace me as Kaiser? Ben Schwartz? Please say Ben Schwartz.
No, Malik, I wouldn't replace you with Ben Schwartz. Bryce Pappenbrook.
And finally, why didn't you let me redub my 7-year-old lines, man? Why?
Because shut up. Despite the audio quality, I really like those deliveries, and you can't recapture that, even with a better mic. Cope and seethe forever.
And that's pretty much all the questions I got, so again, if you haven't seen this yet, go check it out. A lot of other people have done it so far, so why not be like one of the cool kids and follow suit? Go over there because I told you to, but stay for the amazing animation and PurpleEyes' performances. And be sure to share it around with anybody else you think would like it too. Friends, animation aficionados, bitter enemies, I don't really care, share it with everybody. With all that said, yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble on about this thing I was in. I'm really proud of it, and I hope there's more down the line. That's really all I gotta say, so with all that said, I'll see you all next time. Later.